Welcome to the Quit Vaping podcast, the podcast designed to make you a non-listener. In this show, I'm not going to scare you away from a life of vaping. What I am going to do is show you just how good your life can be without it. Thank you so much for listening and enjoy the show. Hello and welcome to a very special episode of the Quit Vaping podcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Cipriano, and today I want to go over my updated framework for quitting vaping. I've been doing this coaching for the last 6 months or so since my last episode, and the idea of this podcast was just to be like a year-long thing that's supposed to give you everything you need to quit, and if you need additional help, I have a course that's amazing that a ton of people have gone through now, and they love it, and it works, and then I also have one-on-one coaching to learn how to quit vaping and how to also take these tools to the next level. So today I just want to do a recap. It's been about 5 months since my last episode, and I want to tell you guys what's changed in the way that I help people quit vaping, and this is going to be a fantastic episode to send to anybody if they want help understanding the entire picture before they dive into the podcast or anything. It'll kind of be my flagship episode, so welcome to the podcast if you're new. If you've been here a while, welcome, and I hope that this really is one of the episodes that helps you quit for good. So just to get with it, I have a course and it's really good. If you guys are having trouble applying this information, I have a 4-hour video course that's just amazing. I've gotten a ton of feedback on it and I'm going to be raising the price. I know that I've been all over with the price on that. Right now, I'm offering it for $225 and that's great. And I just got on a call with somebody who took my course the other day and she said that I need to raise it. And that's not the first time I've heard that in this industry. So I will be raising up to, I believe, $497. I'm going to start running Facebook ads to it and that will be my new price. So if you guys are interested in the course and you want to actually get that, it's going to help you not only learn how to quit vaping, but also give you the skill set and the mental tools to help you to manage your thoughts and emotions in other areas as well. Remember, the reason I teach quitting vaping as a life coach is not for you to quit vaping per se. It's to give you a skill set that will help you quit vaping, but also to teach you how to manage your thoughts and regulate your emotions so that you can create other results in your life too. So that you don't overeat after you quit vaping, so that you stop using other substances that aren't serving you, and so that you can create any kind of result you want by managing your thoughts and your emotions around your life. That's why I'm a life coach. Although I'm doing quitting vaping and I love this niche, I want you guys to also understand that you can use these tools for like practically anything. So welcome to the podcast. If you want to get more information on the course, you can go to my bio in the link. And if you want to get one-on-one coaching with me to help you quit vaping and to give you any other results you're working on that revolve around the same tool set, I'm so happy to do that. And you can always sign up for a free consult in my bio. With that said, let's get going on quitting vaping. So I used to teach quitting vaping when I first started as the only two method, and that was kind of talking about your thoughts and your emotions. But the way that I teach it now that I've talked to a lot of people, and the most simple way that I can explain it is that vaping has 3 addictions. And the reason why most people can't quit vaping is because they're not dealing with all 3 addictions. They're either dealing with just one, they're focusing on the chemical addiction to nicotine, or they're not understanding the thoughts and the emotions behind the addiction that's actually led them to and created the addiction to begin with. So when it comes to quitting vaping, you have to understand all 3 addictions if you want to quit for good. If you don't understand all 3 addictions and you try to willpower your way into it, even if you quit using nicotine, I still consider you a vapor because you'll be wanting to use nicotine in your mind. Just because you've quit the substance, in my book, doesn't make you someone who's no longer a vapor. If you still have desire to use it, if you feel like you're still using willpower, or like 3 months down the line, you're still craving nicotine all the time, you're still mentally and or emotionally addicted, so I don't think you've actually quit in the proper way. And just before I explain these 3 addictions, I do want to give you my philosophy. I am not anti-nicotine. I'm not anti-drug in any way, shape, or form. My philosophy around any substance is that you should be able to use it if you want to, and it should have no control over your life. Okay? So with understanding all 3 addictions, you get to a place where if you want to hit a vape every once in a while, you're at a party, a friend has a vape, you can hit it, and it doesn't become something that's no longer within your control, and it doesn't become an issue in your life. That's my philosophy. I will admit fully that every once in a while, I'm at the point in my life where I'll rip a vape occasionally. It's not a big deal. I'm not completely abstinent from any substance, honestly. Even with alcohol, I go hit or miss depending on like the month if I'm drinking or not. But I have a relationship with substances now, food, alcohol, nicotine, porn, etc., where I am able to use them when I feel like it's appropriate, and I'm able to not have any negative issue in my life where there's a lack of control or any negative results in my life because of it. That's my philosophy, and that's the philosophy I think that you guys should have as well, especially if you're having trouble with the idea of never vaping again. I don't think you need to believe in that idea. I just think you should get to a place where maybe you cut it out for a while, and then if you ever want to enter it back in your life with nicotine in a non-threatening way and you have control over it, I don't see the harm with that. But it's your choice. If you'd rather never vape again, that's totally okay as well. Just want to give you my perspective, which is a little bit less polarized than a lot of people out there. All right, so if you want to quit vaping, you have to deal with all 3 addictions, okay? So we're going to start with the chemical addiction. The chemical addiction is the only one of the 3 that keeps you vaping, but it has nothing to do with why you started. Okay, most people can't quit vaping because they're only dealing with the chemical addiction. That means they're focusing on the nicotine and the addiction that creates chemically in your body. That's when you turn to things like nicotine replacements, like nicotine replacement gum, all the, the patches, everything like that, zero nicotine vapes. You're focusing on breathing necklaces to like deal with the hand to mouth because you think the chemical addiction is bad. You're like eating gum, eating food to avoid the addiction. Like the chemical addiction itself, remember, it only lasts about 10 days-ish, depending on like your level of exercise, how much nicotine you're using. And that is the only one that will keep you vaping, but it's not why you started. So the way that I like to think about it is to envision the chemical addiction like it's the tip of the iceberg that's gone over the water, or it's the weed that pops out over the dirt. Okay? It's going to come up, but it's only like 20% of the problem. It's really not the main issue. And most people are believing that nicotine is the problem, and that's why they focus solely on that 20% of the problem that they can see. So if you want to quit vaping for good and get to a place where you have full control over it, and you can choose if you ever want to touch it or not again, and actually quit vaping and become a non-vapor, you have to understand the issues under the surface, okay? The other 80% of the iceberg and or the roots that keep growing the weed on top of the ground. Okay, and that's the mental and the emotional part of addiction. Remember that your thoughts create your emotions. So that means that your thoughts, the mental beliefs and thoughts you have about nicotine, and the emotions you have, the way that you're responding to your emotions, those are intertwined. So those are the other two addictions. Remember that all addiction is an emotional problem. That means the reason we become addicted to anything isn't the substance itself. It's to avoid the way we are feeling or change the way we are feeling before we use the substance, okay? Every addiction is an emotional problem, and because your thoughts create your emotions, we have to deal with both your thoughts and emotions, the mental and the emotional addiction, in order to actually stop vaping for good. So let's talk about the mental addiction. The mental addiction simply means your thoughts and beliefs about nicotine, okay? They're always optional, and I promise you that if you're vaping and if you're having trouble quitting, I promise you with 100% certainty in my body, the reason you're having trouble is because you're believing things that is creating a nicotine addiction. If you're believing that your life will be less fun or not as exciting without nicotine, you're going to have a mental addiction to nicotine where you always want to use it. If you're believing that you can't manage your emotions like anxiety, stress, boredom, etc. without nicotine, then you're going to be mentally addicted to wanting to use nicotine to feel your emotions. If you're believing that it's hard to quit vaping, then you're going to find evidence for that in your life by failing over and over again, not because it's actually difficult, because you believe it is. Does that make sense? So the mental addiction is just what you choose, very important to focus on that, choose to think and believe about nicotine, your relationship with nicotine in your life, and your relationship with quitting nicotine. So now that we've talked about the chemical and the mental addictions, we can talk about the last element, is the emotional addiction. Remember that all addiction is an emotional problem. And the reason why is because the addiction itself isn't the problem, it's the symptom of trying to change how we feel. Because your thoughts create your emotions, it's important to understand that in order to help manage some of the emotions. But also, the last part is it's okay to feel negative emotions sometimes. And you do not need to use substances to avoid those negative emotions. Let me say that again. Emotions like anxiety, shame, guilt, stress, fear, panic, dread, those are completely normal human emotions. And when we think those emotions are normal, we allow ourselves to learn how to process them without pathologizing them, without making us think there's something wrong for experiencing them. This is what I like to say. It's like my favorite quote lately, and I'm going to make t-shirts, you guys. I have this whole list. I'm such an idiot, but I do like TikTok lives. I'm still doing those. And every time that I'm on a live and I say a quote that's like memorable, I write it down. And I have this whole list of like, I'm going to have a t-shirt company one day with my own quotes and like dumb pictures of myself, like thumbing up the camera, like with the quote. But anyways, I don't take myself too seriously. But what I like to say is anxiety is not a problem. The thought of thinking anxiety is a problem is the problem. Negative emotions themselves are not the issue. Thinking that negative emotions are the problem is the problem. Does that make sense? So, a large part of what I do with the helping you emotionally quit vaping is helping you to understand that you don't need to resist those emotions, and it's okay to be anxious sometimes. It's okay to be stressed. And yes, we will do some mental work to help you with the mental addiction and understand how to manage your thoughts around the emotions it's creating. But the main part with the emotional addiction, really, truly in our society, is just to allow yourself to feel an emotion like anxiety and to not diagnose it or pathologize it as something wrong with you. And I know I've made episodes on that before, but I think this is the cleanest way that I can teach this material. Addiction has 3 parts, okay? The mental is your thoughts and your beliefs that have led you to addiction and that are continuing to lead you into addiction, that literally are creating willpower. Remember, willpower is when we're at will against ourselves. What does that mean? It means that we're taking an action, trying to quit vaping, without fully believing in that action. And then we're literally left to battle our own belief systems. And then we snap, right? So you have to understand the mental addiction and how to change your thoughts and beliefs about nicotine. That's really the root cause. But you also have to understand that sometimes we can just feel an emotion in our body and we don't need to make it mean anything bad. And if we can do that and bring awareness to the emotions in our body before, during, after vaping, and we can just let ourselves learn how to feel those and not diagnose ourselves, then we can get through the emotional addiction. And the beautiful thing about teaching the emotional addiction like I do is that if you learn how to manage your emotions, you will not need to turn to any other substance to replace nicotine. Let me say that again. If we learn how to feel our emotions, we don't need any substance to do the feeling for us. Really important skill set. I highly recommend you learn it because a lot of people try quitting vaping and then they go right back to overeating. And it's like, well, you haven't really quit your substance problem. You've just kind of transferred it. And I don't consider that solving the problem. So if we deal with the thoughts, the mental addiction, and the beliefs, and we also deal with the emotional element, remember that's the roots under the ground that are creating the addiction, then the chemical addiction ceases to be a problem. We're able to put down our last vape for good. We're able to manage our thoughts and our emotions about it. And I promise you that 3 to 5 days where your cravings are the strongest will be a walk in the park when your thoughts and your emotions, your mind and your body are aligned with quitting. That is quitting vaping in a nutshell. As of right now, my course is on sale for $225. It will be that price for the next couple of weeks until I start doing Facebook ads, and then I'll be raising up to $497. If you've listened to this podcast and you want additional help, I would say the course is the place to go. If you want even more additional help, you can get one-on-one coaching with me. I'm currently offering, and this could change. So, I'm sure if you've listened for a long time, you've heard my prices change and everything. Well, I'm finally understanding my worth. So thank God for that. And sorry for you guys that my prices went up, but I know that I'm worth it now and I know I can help you. If you want one-on-one coaching, I'd love to do it. I do a 10-session package right now. It's $2,000 at the moment, and I will coach you on anything you want in 10 weeks. We can literally, for my experience of doing this now, quitting vaping happens around session 4 to 5, and then the rest of the sessions, I do emotional tools, relationship tools, and everything else I can teach you. All the emotional and thought management tools that I really truly believe all adults should be learning that want to create a life that's meaningful, especially if you're someone who really does want to go after that big life for yourself, maybe start a business, get up on stage, do comedy, these tools that we're learning now in this podcast, in the courses I teach, in my coaching are the way to get to that. So if you have listened to this whole podcast and you still need help, please check out my other resources in my bio. And if you haven't listened to the whole podcast and this is your first episode, listen, girl, go fucking listen to the podcast. I don't know if you're a girl or guy, sorry, I just say that, but listen to the rest of the podcast. And if I can help you completely free, I get messages all the time on Instagram that this podcast help people quit completely with the free stuff. I'm happy to do it. And if you do get free help, please consider leaving me a 5-star review. I have a donation page. I know that's asking for donations, but throw me 10, 20 bucks. I really appreciate it. It means the world to me. But if you can't do that and you really can't do it and it doesn't mean you haven't gotten the value from it, then just give me a 5-star review if it helps you. Okay. That's all I'm asking. I'm going to be in this industry for a long time. I really want you guys to get the help you need. I've given you as much free stuff as I can that will actually help you. And if you want the paid stuff that will take it deeper and help you even more, I'd love to have you do that. But again, it's all good. I really want this podcast to be an altruistic act on the world and help a lot of people, as many as possible. And I do believe these tools should be accessible to everyone. The last thing I want to say is if you guys are interested, I'm doing a podcast now where I actually take people on for one free session. And the entire point is to give you guys a free session if you can't afford my coaching. But the kind of caveat is that I'm going to record the audio and we can change any personal details you want, but I record the audio so that my next podcast will actually be called Experience Life Coaching, and it will literally be taking real people through real coaching in a live format, and it's really cool. I've already done 4 episodes. It's amazing. I'm going to release that podcast in about a month, and I'm really excited about it. So thanks for being here. If you guys know anyone who needs to quit vaping, please share this episode with them so they understand the framework, and then they can either go for the rest of the podcast, and it'll be a good way to look backwards on the podcast, or they can move forward with other resources, and they can get all the other stuff in my bio. So thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. There's my update. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Life Coach Andrew on TikTok, Instagram. Find me, follow me, interact with me. I love hearing from you guys. I do this because I love it and I want to meet you guys and hear about how this works changing your life. And I will try to answer any questions you guys have if you reach out to me and try to give you any support I can. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. You as kind, you as smart, you as important, and I'll see you guys around in the industry. What's up, guys? I hope you're enjoying the show and that each episode is bringing you one step closer to becoming a non-listener. If you'd like to take all this information to the next level and finally quit vaping for good, you can check out the course link in my bio. Have a great day. See you next week.